All right. Hello, my fellow veterans out there. How y'all doing today? Uh, Little update. We had the rally against suicide downtown Cleveland Saturday, along with the Cleveland Cavaliers and a few other local nonprofits, and it turned out to be a very good event. Had a lot of people. We served over 100 free hot dogs, and yeah, it was a good event. But veterans, are you into fishing like I am? So much in your blood that you want to go fishing every day? Well, this show's for you. So let's go ahead and get things started. All right, everybody. Today we have Project Healing Waters on today. Now, as you see, it has waters in there. So, of course, when I mentioned fishing, yes, this organization takes veterans fishing. Not just any fishing, though. It's fly fishing. And today we have one of their people who assist and help get veterans out there to the rivers and everything to do some fly fishing. We have Phil. How you doing, Phil?
Doing good.
All
Doing good.
right. So, Phil, you and I met several months ago at
Mm.
a resource fair, and you're telling me everything that you and your partners there were telling me all about your organization. I was just absolutely thrilled to meet you guys as you were sitting there uh, tying flies and everything. And
Yeah.
can you tell us a little bit about what Project Healing Waters is?
Yeah, sure. Project Healing Waters is a outreach program for veterans with disabilities. And what it does is it takes people on fly fishing outings. It teaches you the fly fishing skills you need to do those outings. We also teach fly tying, rod building, and we do monthly meetings with our people so that we can exercise these different skills so that when we do go on the water, we're all prepared to fish at our best. So it's basically an outreach program for the veterans with disabilities. It's run by volunteers.
Ah, fantastic. And do you know when Project Healing Waters came about?
It's been quite a few years. It's a national program, but I don't remember off the top of my head when they actually started. It's probably been at least 20 years. It's been around.
All right.
It has over 200 programs throughout the country, so it's developed itself pretty well so far.
And how did you get involved with Project Healing Waters?
I went to a local fly fishing club, and at that club, I was looking for something to do. And it just so happened that the program lead for my area was at that club. So the president of the club introduced me to her, Diane, and said that you might be interested in helping veterans. And being a veteran myself, it sounded very, very enticing to me. So after talking with her, I decided that Project Healing Waters might be something that I would be interested in doing.
Ah, fantastic. And yes, Diane runs the organization in the state of Ohio, correct?
In Willoughby, Ohio. Yes, it's in the northeast corner of the state. That's our program, is the Willoughby program.
And Diane was going to join us today, but unfortunately, something came up. And this being a live show, you know,
Yes, yeah.
Phil stepped up to the plate, and so we can have a show for you today. So I highly appreciate that a lot. Now, when are there any pre-requirements for a veteran in order to get into the programs?
The only required is you have to be a disabled veteran. You can be of any rating, even as low as 5%. It doesn't matter what your rating is. A lot of programs are focused on veterans with higher ratings, 50% or above, or 100% disabled. Our program just states that you have to be a disabled veteran with a rating of at least a few percent. Outside of that, there's no other requirements. Everything is provided for the veteran.
Oh, wow. That's good. That's what I like to hear. Now, I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but one of the things that I do when I research nonprofits bring onto the show is I check a website called Charity Navigator.
Okay.
And they rank nonprofits according to how they spend their money.
Okay.
And you guys get the highest rating with 4 stars.
Oh, nice to hear.
Yes. So that means almost all donations go directly to helping veterans. So that,
yes,
I applaud you for.
Yes, there is no cost to the veteran to be a part of our program.
That's awesome.
We provide everything for them. It's basically their effort in the program is all we ask. Come into our program, apply yourself to the skills, learn the skills, go on the outings. We're happy. We'll foot the bill for the rods and stuff that it takes to get you on there, the waiters, whatever it takes to get you on the program. We'll do that.
All right. Now, let everybody know that the chat is up. So if you want to ask Phil or I questions, or even have comments, like if maybe you've been in the program and gone fishing with these folks, chime in. We'll get you on the air. Matter of fact, we have some guy who somehow got into the studio here. So let me see who this guy is. Hi, Tony. Can you hear me?
That's one of our guys.
That's one of your guys?
That's one of our
fantastic. All right. Well, if he wants to chime in, he can. I got him in the studio now. So welcome to the show, Tony. And we'll go ahead and we'll just leave him up there just like that.
All right.
All right. Now, I know you have organizations all over or programs all over the country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, specifically in our area, Northeast Ohio, there's Tony. Hi, Tony.
Tony, you're on the program.
Yes. I can't hear him, but
can't hear you though. Can't hear you.
Yep. Can't hear you, so we'll go from there.
Hey,
but,
there you go, Tony.
Yeah.
Right.
Good to see you. Yeah.
All right. Now, what type of fishing can veterans from Northeast Ohio expect?
Oh, well, we do a little bit of everything. We have our primary fish is the steelhead that come off Lake Erie into the rivers. We're part of Steelhead Alley, which is the strip from New York through Pennsylvania into Ohio. We fish the Ohio tribs, which are about 5 or 6 rivers. That's our primary fishing for fly fishing. But during the summer months, when the steelhead are out in the lake, we do some smallmouth fishing. We do some pond fishing where we have largemouth and bluegill. We do some lake fishing. So we again have the larger fish like largemouth bass. So we do a little bit of everything in Northeast Ohio with fly fishing. If there's water, we definitely can get to the stream and fish for it.
Now, with the salmon fishing, is that season getting ready to start? Or
we don't have a heavy salmon population in Northeast Ohio. You do get some strays that come in. The state of Ohio no longer stocks salmon. So the steelhead fish, which is the big rainbows, that's the main fish that we fish for that are migratory.
All right. And when does that season start?
Some point late October, they start coming in. They stay through the winter, and they're pretty much done by the beginning of May.
Okay.
So as long as the water's open and there's no ice, you can fish for them all winter long.
Oh man, that's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one fish I have yet to catch in the state of Ohio.
Yeah, it's a great fish.
I used to go when I was younger in the Huron River to catch steelhead, but one, for some reason they don't show up in that river anymore, and
Yeah.
two, my brother Kevin would catch them all, so would never let me catch any. But now, when a veteran does get into the program, and do they tie flies like the day of you take them fishing, or do you bring them in for several classes, or how does that work?
We rotate our training throughout the month. So for the Willoughby program, we have fly tying at our monthly meeting every other month.
Mhm.
So every other month, whether you're a beginner or not, you're going to do some fly tying at the monthly meeting, which is the third Thursday of the month. Additional tying is done at Lakeland Community College in Mentor, and that's done every Wednesday from noon to 1 at the college, at the Veterans Center at the college. So you can show up there as well and learn how to tie. So you have two opportunities in the Willoughby program to tie. And you start that as day one. You can go to the Wednesday meeting, or you can go to the third Thursday meeting and tie flies.
All right. And if somebody's interested in, let me go ahead and bring this slide up here. So if somebody's interested in getting in the program, they can contact you through the website.
Yes, that's the national website. You can go on there. There's also a program locator through the website that brings up a map, and you click on the region that your state's in. It brings up the states, and then you go through the cities listed on the state and find the city that's closest to you.
Oh,
And then
fantastic.
then you contact, like in our case, you would be contacting Diane Wants as the project or program lead for the Willoughby program, and she would walk you through the registration process.
All right. And Tony, how did you get involved with Project Healing Waters?
Yeah, so I made contact with some of the program leads on the west side of Cleveland. I live on the west side. Kind of Cleveland is a town with a river that kind of divides things, and we identify as
Yes.
kind of west side or east side. But through the local fly shops, met individuals who were active with the programs that are on the west side. Started working there, and then made contact with Diane and Phil, and kind of moved and started working a little bit more with the Willoughby program. So kind of pulled in through the fly shops and the fly clubs. That's kind of where we recruit a lot of our volunteers, is kind of word of mouth. There have been times when I've gone to seminars at some of our local fly shops, and then asked if I could pass out materials following a little bit about Project Healing Waters and do like a little infomercial. And a lot of times that's where you'll find your volunteers, because you're already dealing with an individual that's interested in fly fishing. And then typically that person comes to our organization with a pretty good skill set, and they can help with the fly tying classes, and instruction, and then assist when we have outings and we go onto the water with our veterans. So
all right. And how
that was
long have
good.
you
My iPad to kind of show a picture here of one of the steelhead. This is one from last spring, but this will give you an idea of what the fish are like. And this actually is
go ahead and bring you up full screen here.
Yeah, it's a smaller. This one's not even a really big steelhead. This one we didn't measure. Phil was actually fishing with me when we pulled this one in, but this one might be, I don't know, Phil, might have been a 25-inch fish.
Yeah, it was probably 25.
It wasn't a big one, but that'll give you an idea of what these fish are like. So a big one might be 30 inches, something like that. They're fun to catch, though.
Oh yeah, my brother let me know how fun it was when he caught them all.
Oh yeah.
But Yeah, I was used to doing nothing but walleye or perch fishing back then. So
Hmm.
river fishing was brand new to me. And I think, yeah, I almost been in junior high. So, but yeah, he definitely let me know how fun it was.
Yeah.
And so when a veteran does get into the program and he goes and he learns how to tie some flies and everything, do they keep the flies that they tie or?
Oh yeah. Yeah. They'll tie flies, like I say, at the two locations, depending on what day they come, and all the flies that they tie, they keep. Um, the same thing as we have a rod building program that we do generally once a year, maybe a little longer than a year, but we have a rod building program that they build their own rod. Once they complete their rod,
Hmm.
Healing Waters gives them a reel and line to go with it, and it's theirs to keep. No charge to them.
Oh, wow.
So everything that they do, in far as tying the flies, building the rods, whatever, they get to keep those things that are personal to them. The stuff that they don't get to keep is stuff that we loan them. Like if we loan them a rod or loan them waders to wear, that stuff comes back to the program, so the next guy can use it.
All right. And just a little reminder out to our folks who listen to this podcast later on Apple and Amazon and Spotify. The website will be listed in the description. All right, and how you can contact them, and I'll also put the direct link to the contact page for the website into the description below as well. So all you folks who are listening just to the audio, you're going to get all the information you need to help get in contact with Project Healing Waters. Now, once the veteran does get to go fishing with you folks, can you walk us through what a normal day would be?
Why don't you do that, Tony? Tell them what it's like to go
Yeah.
out. We just did an outing.
Right. So it depends obviously on the type of outing. The most recent outing with our Willoughby program was our Willoughby 100. It's an annual. It's kind of our derby. It's held in the fall, and it's the Willoughby 100 originated from the fact that the derby features 100 minutes of fishing, and then we have little medallions for the most fish caught and for the largest fish. And this one's held at at a still water event, so at a pond or lake. So last Saturday we were at an area that is near Willoughby, Ohio. The area is the lake is called Hidden Lake,
Oh,
and
yes,
we
yes.
started kind of got everybody together at 9:30 and kind of a check-in, make sure everybody has all the equipment that they need. Sometimes our veterans will need us to maybe tie in and attach a new leader to their fly line or assist with tip at these sort of things, just get them ready to go. So like 9:30 to 10 was get everybody ready to go, and then at 10 we started the competition part of the Willoughby 100, and then we concluded the fishing at 11:40, giving us that 100 minutes. And then it was followed up by a hot dog lunch. So it was super fun. And one of the things and then Phil and I talk about this from time to time, is that there's a component of camaraderie that naturally develops with our participants, and they literally have a blast with one another. And this is something that Phil and I discuss. It's like, what's the draw? Is it the kind of the group fellowship and the affiliation, and seeing friends, or is it the fishing? And a lot of times that we kind of, as we look at what the bigger draw factor is, we say, well, it's that getting together and enjoying one another's company, right? And
Yes.
sometimes it's like the fishing was so good it had to be the fishing. The heat was on, the fish were just biting. But it's an absolute blast. And the other thing that's fun in terms of being a volunteer is to see our participants develop their skill sets. So whether it's in front of a vise tying flies, or if it's casting during an outing, absolute blast to see those, what I refer to as just noticeable differences. So they're casting more accurately, they're casting a greater distance, right?
Mm.
They're landing fish more proficiently, these sorts of things. So it's super fun to see those skills kind of come up as a result of their time with us. Um, that's one of the most exciting and fun things. In addition to fishing ponds and lakes, so we kind of refer to those as still water outings.
Hmm.
We also then we have a number of rivers that are very, very wadeable. They're very accessible. There's lots of good public access points. So we'll put together outings for our participants, and we'll team them up and take them onto the water and fish rivers as well. So when you're fishing a river, there has to be the ratio between volunteer and participant needs to be, ideally 1-to-1 or 1-to-2, just because you're wading, and there are just
Hmm.
other features of fishing a river that necessitate that you have that ratio of volunteer to participant. But it's an absolute blast, and to have a class to teach things like wading or teach about fly selection, and then to a few weeks later take the participant out onto the water and apply what is learned and see them turn that educational component into a fish on the end of a line that they land and take a picture with is just really super, super fun.
Oh, wow.
I know
All right.
Phil would agree with that. It's
Mhm. Oh yeah, absolutely.
it's an absolute blast.
Now, are there any restrictions to veterans in like can veterans in wheelchairs
Okay, yeah,
participate in?
yes, we have programs where we have access to docks that we can bring people from the shoreline onto the dock to so they can fish, or if they're in a walker, they're not going to go very far along the shoreline. We'll find them a spot that they can cast from. And so as far as Healing Waters is concerned, we address physical and psychological handicaps both. So we're looking at these things that would cause maybe somebody to have a little bit of reluctance in fishing. We address them ahead of time. We prepare them to go on the water, and then we outfit them with what they need to fish. So there is nothing that we will not address. We will help everybody get a line in the water.
Oh, fantastic. Um,
Yeah, I've been with Healing Waters for something like maybe 6 years, something along those lines. And I can recall, in terms of like disability status, we've actually had we've had across the state, we've had outings at our Castilia hatchery where the state of Ohio raises, among other things, trout and steelhead. And at that at outings at our fish hatchery, we've actually had participants who were blind who were fishing,
mm,
and they obviously they need a little bit of assistance in getting them to the stream, but casting, feeling the fish on the line, landing a fish, um, that can even be accomplished by someone who is blind. And
yes.
then Phil leaned into it a little bit. We have um, multiple participants who use wheelchairs and or walkers in terms of mobility. And so, based on the need of the participant, we select outings where water access is workable and it's safe. We can get the chair down close to the water, and or like Phil just spoke and was talking about, docks. So docks work out really well because typically there's a nice ramp to get to the dock and it's a
Mhm.
flat surface, and the chairs tend to do really well under those conditions. So yeah, we are able to accommodate um, and work with and assist participants who have a variety of disabilities.
Now you mentioned the fish hatchery. Is that the one that used to be owned by the state, or by that used to be the Cold Creek Trout Club
Yeah,
out in
that
Castelia?
right. So the Cold Creek is the creek that originates from the Blue Hole, which is the aquifer, and
Mhm.
it literally just bubbles up water right
Yes.
there at the hatchery. And they're currently, to my understanding, my limited understanding, there's the Castelia Trout Club that is in close proximity to the Blue Hole, the aquifer where the
Yes.
water,
Hmm.
rises from the ground. And then the state hatchery is there. And then there are also a number of other trout clubs that have been really, really, what's the right word? They've been very accommodating. They've opened up opportunities for us.
Very
Oh,
much.
fantastic.
Yeah, yeah. And so, yeah, go ahead,
Yes.
Phil. Yeah,
Oh yeah, the you ask about the hatchery. That is one of the outings that we do annually. We have
Mhm.
a limited number of people that can go to the hatchery and fish the Cold Creek there, which is very fun because the fish are easy to catch. We'll say
Yes.
they're yeah, but it's a nice outing, and they have a lunch. And then there's other clubs that invite us to their location during the year that we can also do an outing. And the fishing's a little more tougher at those clubs, but again, it's stock fish, so
Hmm.
it's a little easier than native fish that are on streams, maybe like in New York or Pennsylvania or Michigan that we might go to. Well,
Mhm. And it's good for our participants because they get a variety of different water conditions, right? So still
Hmm.
water is going to be different than moving water, and
Yes.
you have to take into account the current and mend your line and all these sorts of things. So prior to our outings, we plan our education, which for the Willoughby program occurs on the third Thursday of every month. And so we gear that toward upcoming outings. So, for instance, if we're looking to be fishing rivers, then be related to in current
He's freezing up. There he goes. Okay.
a variety of things that directly relate to what we're
Mhm.
approaching within our schedule of events.
Now, as a kid, I never got to fish the Cold Creek, but I remember as a kid going to the Blue Hole and everything and seeing all the fish in the creek. So,
Yeah, it's
like,
interesting that the state actually has to. That there's a device that introduces oxygen into the water before it's utilized within the hatchery because the water coming out of the aquifer has a very, very low to no oxygen
right.
content. Yeah, so they have to
Hmm.
introduce oxygen before they put it into the runs that then develop the fish that then are stocked throughout the state. So,
Now, with Rest Haven being right there, I wish the state would stock more types of fish other than pike or bass out at Rest Haven. They
Mhm.
figure out how to put some trout or something out in there.
right.
But being so close to the hatchery, you'd think they'd be able to do that. But
right.
now, when you, other than the Willoughby 100, when you do take a veteran out fishing, how long of a day do they get?
They're a day of fishing can be anywhere from an hour and a half to 3 hours. Generally, we don't push more than about 3 hours of fishing. And if the fishing's slow or really bad, we'll cut it a little early because most of the veterans, they get tired. But
Hmm.
it's amazing how much spunk somebody has when they are catching fish.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So, an hour and a half into a really good day, they're like, "Oh, let's keep this going," and you will have a 2 to 3 hour day fishing. Now, we've gone on some outings that they actually float the rivers. We've gone up to Michigan, we've gone up to New York. We're going to do some stuff in Pennsylvania, and they're on a float boat. Those can be anywhere from 6 to 8 hours of fishing. So it's a little more demanding. And again, we make sure that we let the veterans know that, this is a more demanding sport when you're floating, that you're going to be out there longer. They serve you a lunch while you're out there. So because you are out there so long, you get a lunch. But most of the shoreline local fishing is anywhere from an hour and a half to about 3 hours. It's typical.
Now, do you provide transportation to the fish site, or is it?
That's the
car
one thing
caravans?
they do. They provide their own transportation. So say we're going to go to Michigan, they provide their own transportation, but they get reimbursed the fuel cost that goes up there. So they're whatever their cost for the fuel, if it's $100 to drive up to northern part of Michigan, when they come back, they fill out a reimbursement sheet and they get reimbursed for that. Their fishing license for Michigan is paid for by us. So the only thing they have to do is drive their car and take the time to get there.
Oh, okay. All right. Now, what rivers in Ohio do you fish in?
For us, on the east side of Cleveland, it starts over in the eastern corner with the Conneaut Creek. Then it goes to the Ashtabula River. And then the Chagrin River is pretty much the three that we fish. Oh, the Grand River as well. When the Grand River is fishable, the Grand River runs up through Madison, but we fish that as well. Then the chapters that are programs that are located on the west side, they fish the Rocky River, the Vermilion, I think even the
Black River.
Black River.
Fish over there.
Yeah, I heard the fishing in the Black River's improved a lot over the last few years.
It has.
And
here's what we're just kind of talking about the float trips, but this is a picture from these are some of the float boats from let's see if I can get this up here. This was from a trip this spring to the west branch of the Delaware. So that was a kind of a New York trip. And this is kind of what the boats look like. These were just boats that were kind of launching. I just got a quick picture, but it'll give those viewing the podcast an idea of what the boats look like.
All right.
There's two people to a boat plus the guide.
Yeah, there's two people. Yeah, the guide's in the middle there. Yeah. So it's super fun. I mean, you're going to cover a lot of water, and it's going to put you over a lot of additional fish as compared to a wading trip. And absolutely, it's just an absolute blast to fish from a boat.
Yes.
Something that our veterans just have a ball with it. It's good.
Now, you mentioned northern Michigan. What parts of northern Michigan do you take veterans to?
So it's the Muskegon River, as well as this. I'm speaking as related to this summer. So we were able to go to Oakhart Lodge. That's in Newaygo, Michigan.
Okay.
And depending on, go ahead, Phil.
Yeah, it's about the western side of the state. Yeah. And kind of, if you know the area, maybe Baldwin, Michigan might be another point or another town that you might be familiar with. And so when we're in Newaygo, Michigan fishing, then we fish the Muskegon River as well as the Pierre Marquette. So again, float trips, and those pretty much were kind of an all-day arrangement, leaving at approximately 7 a.m, returning off the water approximately 4 o'clock with a lunch break in the middle. And just had an absolute blast. It's so much fun.
Now, if a veteran does catch some fish, are they responsible in cleaning them, or do you have people who offer that service to them? Or
we promote catch and release mostly.
Okay.
The only time that we keep fish is if they're in a facility that doesn't allow us to put the fish back. Now, some of the trout clubs are catch and keep only because they don't want injured fish back in the population.
Right.
But on the whole, we're catch and release. We promote that.
Okay.
So there's not a whole lot of keeping and cleaning with us.
That's good to know. That's
Yeah.
definitely something that veterans would definitely would like to know. So
Yes, yes. They always
mhm.
ask. They always ask.
Yes.
We promote CPR: catch, photograph, and release.
I
So
like how you put that.
we're always we're always snapping pictures and putting them right back. But that's part of our education, to get your hands wet before you handle the fish and these sorts of things, so that minimize the amount of time that, or another way of saying it's minimize the amount of time that the trout specifically.
Nope.
So in a very ethical way, because we want them to reproduce and
Yes.
just be dads and moms and fill our rivers with fish. And a good way to do that is to put them right back. So I'm looking, as I look down, I'm just looking through just picture after picture after picture. So maybe from time to time I might pull my iPad up and show a picture or two.
Oh,
but
that's fine. That's
yeah,
perfect. Yes.
it's just, yeah, it's just an absolute, it's an absolute blast.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I think
know.
the thing that, and Phil and I talk about this, and I talk about this with Diane and other volunteers, but just the mental vacation that you get when you're on the water, right? So
Yes.
you're thinking about your presentation and your next cast, and you forget about all the concerns related to work or your career or your personal life and these sorts of things. Things that are bothering you just kind of go away. They go definitely into the background. That's one of the benefits. I mean, it's just it's a mental vacation. It's a mental vacation.
Yes, it is. And that's what I'm trying to teach my 13-year-old son.
Oh yeah.
When I take him fishing, it's just we're
Good
not
luck
out
with
here.
that.
We're not always out here to catch fish.
Right.
Oh
It
yeah.
adds to the excitement of the day, but this is where you learn to just relax.
Right.
Just
Right.
So
not think about anything. Just chill out.
Mhm.
And he's starting to catch on to that. So,
Yeah.
Dad, what? It's no longer Dad, when we going fishing? It's Dad, when we going to chill out? So he's catching on.
Right.
Now there are times where, because my mother-in-law, she loves to eat fish, so she when we're having our next fish fry, so then yeah, I'll go out and try to catch as much fish as I can. But
Right. Right.
Oh yeah.
and unfortunately, along the shores of Cleveland, not too much perch fishing though.
Mm.
So
Yeah. You have to go out a
Yeah.
little bit to get the perch.
You have to
Yeah.
go out a
Yeah.
little bit and kind of.
so I was trying to plan a date to take my son back. I'm originally from Huron, and I grew up in Sandusky. My mom and brother and sister live in Sandusky, so catch a lot of perch out of that bay. So I was going to take him up there one day.
Oh yeah.
But haven't been able to because he's always going camping with Boy Scouts on the weekend and during the Now he's in school, so we can't do it during the week.
Yeah.
But he's starting to catch on to this fishing thing. So I think I've got him hooked.
Very good.
Pretty good now. So
That's a great story.
yes, it is. And this it's something my dad taught me when I was young. So trying to pass it on to my boy now. And it's programs like yours that I really enjoy, because one thing that, talking with fellow veterans at the VA and stuff like that, they're like, well, I can't do the things that I used to be able to do anymore because of the injuries or the illnesses they got while being in the war and stuff like that. You actually are giving hope to some of these veterans because you're out there giving them something that they haven't been able to do for a long time.
Right. And that's the whole point.
Mm-hmm.
We try to encourage them to get back out there and enjoy the outdoors, enjoy fishing. Fly fishing, it may not even been a sport that they have practiced, but we have found that people that have come from the spinning and bait fishing side of the house try fly fishing and almost across the board fall into loving fly fishing. They struggle a little bit in the beginning, learning the cast and tying the flies, but then they get out there on the water, and the fly casting and moving about on the water, or even if you're in one position, you can only stay on the dock or whatever. Just the casting is so much different than the regular spin and bait fishing. They fall in love with it.
Oh yeah. I haven't fly fished in a very long time, but I know how fun it is. It's to see that fish come up and grab that fly. It's
Oh,
absolutely amazing.
yeah. Dry flies are so fun when you see the
Yeah.
silk, right?
Yep,
And sometimes it's real gentle, and sometimes it looks like someone threw a brick in the water.
exactly.
Older, bigger mature trout, they don't expend a ton of energy. They'll just kind of sip, gently because they're
Yes.
used to feeding. They're really good at it. And then you have these little smallmouth bass that just crush
Rush.
a popper. It is. Looks like someone threw a brick in the water. It's so much fun. But I'm with you. I love to see a fish take a fly off the surface. That is just
Hmm.
yeah, it's fun. It
Mm.
is so much fun. Here's
The only thing close to that would be like top water.
Here's an example
lures.
of I just was pulled up another
Yeah.
picture that Dan wants. Program. And here's she on trout. And let's see, this was on the Muskegon River. And
All right.
yeah, she was in the front of the boat and just having a really good time up there. I was catching fish after fish. I was in the back and she said, "Tony, do you want to switch up front?" And I said, "No, you'll lose your momentum. Just turn around and keep casting. You're doing great. We're not doing anything different. We're not going to be rocking the boat and making noise, moving around and scaring
Right.
fish. That'll startle them as much as anything else, just footfalls and vibration in the boat, right?" So I'm like, "No, keep fishing." And she was absolutely had a fantastic morning, which is fun. It's even fun when you see Phil and I have talked about this too. It's even for a volunteer,
Mhm.
it is really fun to see the participants that you've been working with, to see them catch a fish. There is a fun
Mhm.
associated with that is very, very real and
Yeah,
very
most of the time the volunteers don't fish. They are there just to help the veterans. Now there is it occasionally that the program allows the volunteers to do a little fishing too, but
right.
most part we're there to teach them the skills they need to catch fish. So it's a real
Fantastic.
joy to do it.
It's fun. It
And
is so fun.
there is something I did want to mention is that the volunteers are not all veterans. You don't have to be a veteran or disabled to be a volunteer.
Right.
Anybody can be a volunteer. So if you have an interest in helping veterans with disabilities fly fish, and you're willing to come on board to teach a class or go on an outing and help people in the field, we're always looking for people to do that. The volunteers do not have to be any type of disability or even a veteran.
Now,
And
if somebody
Project
can't
Healing
volunteer but want to donate, they can donate through the website as well.
Yes, they can donate through the website, and that's the national website, projecthealingwaters.org, and they can go through that website and they can join a program. They can contact a program lead. They can donate money to the program if they wish to do that. So everything goes right through the headquarters.
You just answered a question I was going to ask you. So,
Okay.
yeah, if they could donate to specific programs. So thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for answering that.
Yeah, and then I would add to the donation. It oftentimes we have fly rods that are donated or reels and these sorts of things. So from time to time we'll have people contact us and say we have fly tying materials that we want to provide to Project Healing Waters, and those are always we're always eager recipients of those fly tying materials, and we can take those hooks and feathers and hackle and what have you, chenille, and incorporate that into our programming, and teach fly tying and take those flies out on the water and catch fish with them. What else, Phil? What else is donated? We've had waders and
waders. We've had rods. A lot of times, people, somebody in the family's no longer involved in fly fishing for one reason or another, and the family wants to give the rods, the reels, the lines, the flies. They want to give all that stuff to a good organization, and everything that we get goes to the veterans that we support through the program. We keep on hand so many rods that we use for new people coming in. We keep a stock of waders that we've purchased with donation money. We have waders. So if somebody wants to go on a steelhead outing and they don't have a set of waders, we loan them a set of waders so they go on that outing that weekend. Same thing with the rod. We can loan them a rod so that they can fish. They don't have to have their own rod. But a lot of that stuff comes from either donations of equipment or funds that allowed us to buy that equipment.
Now, one thing that I'm going to ask, you might find this to be a little funny because I am terrible at tying knots, especially when it comes to tying the leader onto the fly line.
Yes.
So,
Right. Nail knot.
so is there somebody there that teaches the veteran how to tie those knots?
Yes, we have knot tying classes occasionally in our monthly meetings, but at the water, there's always a volunteer with every participant. It might be one-on-one or might be one-on-two, but there's always a volunteer there that is able to tie your leader on, your tippet, your fly if you're having problems. We do encourage them to learn and start doing it on their own. But if they're new to the sport and they just like, I have no clue how to do a nail knot, don't worry, we'll take care of that. We'll put the leader on for you. We're not going to leave you with a line with no leader on it. We'll take care of that for you.
Oh yeah, I've heard about the nail knot.
Yeah,
I'm no good at it either.
Yeah, I'm looking at some of our instructional materials here, and so we actually will take different knots. Here's a non-slip mono loop knot.
All right, let me go ahead and bring you up
here
full
are
screen here.
Here are the pictures and the sequential steps to tie the knot. So we'll devote time and utilize these with our participants to teach them how to tie knots and practice from time to time. So, and then as Phil said, a lot of times on the water, we'll tie a nail knot or a,
right.
you know,
surgeon's knot.
Double surgeon to get tippet tied on for them. Yeah, but it's again that and knot tying then falls into or under the umbrella of education.
Yes.
So, and it's
right.
Part of our core program is education. We teach you how to fly fish, and each class is focused on one or two topics, and we have about an hour and a half to hour and 45 minutes out of each third Thursday meeting that we focus on some type of skill. And then the next month we do fly tying. We'll focus that hour and 45 minutes on fly tying, and then we'll switch again. So you're constantly getting all the different aspects of fly fishing in little bits and pieces until it starts to all add up and make sense to the participant.
All right.
And
fantastic.
So as related to fly tying, a lot of times we've developed just these visual supports. So basically it shows the progression as the fly is tied. So starting here with, you know, the hook and the vise and attaching the body material, and then continuing to make segments and to add legs, and then to finishing off at the front of the fly, and then making a neat head on the front of the fly and clipping off your fly line. But we'll present sometimes with visual supports and teach with this as an instructional tool. And then sometimes we'll actually set up a camera and project onto the wall using a digital camera, and we'll show each step of the process of tying a particular pattern. And then the participants then follow along with the visual image that's projected up onto a screen. And
cool.
You know, so it kind of depends on the pattern and the number of steps. But yeah, we actually, and during a fly tying class, it's pretty common that the participants will tie 2, sometimes 3 of the same pattern. Sometimes we'll introduce a couple of different patterns. It depends on how we're organized for a particular class. But it's it's always a good thing when they leave with a fly that they have tied, and then it's a really good thing when they take that fly that they've tied and they present it and catch a fish with it. That's when the kind of the magic occurs. And
Now-
we're always telling them the flies do not have to look perfect. You know, as long as they're a pretty good approximation, they tend to be effective when the fish are feeding. So it's it's really fun.
My dad always said presentation's the number one thing when it comes to fishing, and
Yes, and
I
it is.
remember
Fly fishing is extremely important.
when they first built that basin off the Huron Pier, and the white bass come in droves in the summertime. And
Oh yeah.
my dad says, look, you can throw a white button onto that hook, and I guarantee you, if you present it the right way, that white bass is going to take that button.
Yeah,
He was right. So,
yeah.
now, one of the things that me as a novice fly fisherman, if I were to go out on a expedition with you guys, would you be advising on what type of fly I should be using for that particular day and type of fish?
Yeah, we have a large selection of flies within the program. We bring it's actually carried in a backpack, the number of fly boxes. So when we get to the water, we'll take a look at what's going on around the water, what type of fish are we going to be fishing for, and then we'll make a selection for them. Now they will accumulate flies that they have either purchased themselves or tied, and occasionally they'll ask, you know, which one of my flies can I use? And we'll take a look at their fly box and say, okay, well, we're going for bluegill. Let's use this little foam spider you tied in the class last week, and we'll try that. So we'll always be there to help them select flies as they need. Now, occasionally they choose their own fly. They don't want to hear what we have to say. They'll say, you know what, I want to fish this particular fly. That's okay.
Right.
You know, that's how you learn. And sometimes they make the right call. It actually works out in their favor.
All right. And I'm trying to think of if there's anything we did not cover that a veteran might want to know about.
Well, you know, we're a very open program. I mean, our third Thursday meetings, you can come in without being registered and sit in on a meeting and see what our meetings are like, talk to our leadership, talk to the participants, see if there is something that's of interest there for you. So for the Willoughby program, we meet on a third Thursday at the VFW on Pelton Road at 7 o'clock. So somebody could come into that meeting, sit down, participate with everything that we do, ask questions. And if they decide, you know, this is something that we're very interested in, one of the leadership will tell them how to go through the national website to get registered, and they'll become registered as a participant. If you are interested in being a volunteer and you want to talk to people about volunteering, you can come to the same meeting, talk to our program lead, talk to the volunteers, find out where you can help the most. And if you decide you want to volunteer, again, there's a process through the national website that allows you to register as a volunteer. So we're very, very open and inviting organization. If they see us on the water, a lot of times we'll have a name tag on. It'll say Healing Waters. We'll have a hat like Tony's wearing. It says Healing Waters. And if they see us out there, they could always ask questions. We're more than happy to answer any questions they may have.
Yeah. And then once they kind of be sign up as a volunteer or as a participant, then they participate with an online system. It's what we refer to as the CRM. And that's how we announce upcoming outings, times when the various program activities will occur. So that's all pushed out.
They get emails from us. The emails will go to, once they're registered with the program, they'll get an email that says there's a meeting coming up, there's an outing coming up, an educational program coming up. That's part of the whole registration process, so that we can communicate with them.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, it kind of keeps everybody together. It's that kind of that electronic hub, if you will, that communication hub. So Yeah.
All right, so it's every third Thursday.
Mhm.
Yep. At the VFW on Pelton Road in Willoughby. So it's right off Route 2. It's right, if you're familiar with the Willoughby area, you turn on to Lost Nation, you make that left. It turns, Lost Nation kind of veers to the left and deads in on a sharp turn. When you make that sharp turn, you're right there at the VFW. So
Okay.
you're less than a mile off Route 2 in Willoughby to get to Pelton Road. And we start the meeting at 7. It goes until 9 o'clock.
Okay. And you mentioned there's also a meeting at a college.
Yes, at the Lakeland Community College in Mentor, we have, we call it Chili Wednesdays because normally the school provides a pot of chili during lunch. And we have our fly tying during that same time period. So we tie a few flies from noon to 1. And we stop in there somewhere, either the beginning or in the middle, and we have some chili or pizza or sub sandwiches, whatever they provide for us.
Oh, cool.
And that's every Wednesday, unless school's out of session for a holiday or something, then we wouldn't be there. But otherwise, as long as the school's in session, we're there from. I usually teach that, so I get there a little bit before noon. So anywhere before noon, from noon to 1, we hold a class.
All right, and that's held in the Veterans Assistance.
Yeah,
office?
the Veterans Office. It's right above their cafeteria. They call their cafeteria the Breakers. So it's an A building right above the cafeteria on the second deck there, off to the right. And you'll see a big thing. It says Veteran Service Center on the wall.
All right. Well, gentlemen, I definitely want to thank you for coming on tonight. This has been an honor for me. Ever since I met you guys at the Veterans Wall, the Vietnam Veterans Wall in
Right.
Aurora, I was always hoping that Diane would say yes. We're definitely gonna come on, and because sitting there watching you guys tie those flies all morning long was absolutely amazing.
It was nice. It was fun to do.
Yeah, you did what, about 20 flies? in
Yeah,
the time
probably
you were there?
about that. Gave away about most of them too. People come by and always want a free fly, so we give them away to people.
Yes. Yep. All right, Phil and Tony, if you could hang on after we go off the air.
Okay.
I'm going to do my closing now.
All right.
And I do this on every show. All right, everybody. As you all know, they changed the Veteran Crisis Line number to make it a lot easier for you. Just dial 988, then press 1. You are now guaranteed to speak to a licensed counselor. You will not be placed on hold. You will not get a voicemail and have them call you back. 988. It's a lot more efficient, and you will get a live licensed counselor when you do call. Matter of fact, Saturday at the Rally Against Suicide in downtown Cleveland, the folks in Cleveland that run the 988 number in the Cleveland area were there, and they're trying to get permission to come on to the podcast and talk about some of the benefits that veterans don't know about that you can get through the VA, such as service dogs. If you're in need of a service dog, you can actually go through the VA, and they actually give benefits to the dog as well. So 988, press 1. And I post this on every show in memory of my brother, who was a Vietnam and Gulf War veteran. He took his own life 22 years ago. So that's how I got involved with the veteran suicide prevention advocacy. And then I advocated for the PACT Act and all that. So
okay, well, thank you for doing that.
To go along with the 988 number, here very soon, hopefully tomorrow, I'll be able to make a major announcement. I've been working with Congressman Dave Joyce and Senator Sherrod Brown and Congresswoman Amelia Sykes on a bill to make an official National Veteran Suicide Awareness and Prevention Day for the month of September. It will be a forever thing. It's not just going to be a ceremonial resolution. It's going to be an actual bill. So we will get and the president's president has already told me once it has passed both houses, he will sign it that day.
Oh, that's great.
So we will get that day.
That's great.
And
Yeah.
then I want to go ahead and thank the people who helped put this podcast on. The people at Veterans Assurance Network. They are building a network of nonprofits, such as Project Healing Water is now becoming part of the network, where one of the things that I saw while in Washington, D.C. was nonprofits being asked by veterans for assistance and them telling the veteran that we're sorry, we don't provide those types of services, but become a member so we can keep providing those services to the veterans that we can help. And they would not tell them where they could go get the specific help that they were looking for.
Mm-hmm.
That's when my wife and I started talking, because she got to see it for herself in DC. I got to take my wife and son with me on one of my trips to DC, and they got to go into the Senate and see him, vote and everything on some legislation, and meet John Stewart and John Field. Got to give them some props too. But everybody was amazed that, like, your larger nonprofits were like, yeah, you got to become a member, but we don't provide services for what you're looking for.
Mm.
Well, who do I go see? We don't know, but become a member to help the veterans we can help. And I thought that was just wrong.
Yeah.
One, why are you asking a veteran to become a member if you can't help them? Two, why are you asking a veteran to become a member to begin with?
Mm-hmm.
Is it to build these big, huge, fancy office buildings? Big, huge Christmas parties where you're riding in on horses? I'll tell you about this after we go off the air. It'll catch you guys. But that's one of the reasons why we're building that network. We want veterans to be able to come to us or another nonprofit and say, hey, I'm looking for this specific type of aid. Well, we don't provide that, but we know who can. And get in contact with that organization on behalf of the veteran. So this veteran doesn't feel like they're being tossed to the side again.
Right.
So, but once again, guys, thank you so much. We did have quite a few people watching and listening in, and this will be posted on YouTube here very shortly, so people can go back and watch it again. And then tomorrow it will be available on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, Google. Just the audio though, but you're going to get a lot of
Oh, that's great.
people get you're going to get noticed quite a bit off of this. So, all right,
Okay. Very
all
good,
right, folks.
Appreciate it.
Very good. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. All right, folks. I do not have a guest scheduled for next week yet, but the following week we do. But I'll put that out on social media on who that'll be. It's another program just like Project Healing Waters, but it's for those of you who like to go hunting. So we'll go that route in 2 weeks, and then we'll go from there. And we'll see you next week, folks.